Hey everyone, welcome to this session on daily newspaper reading. In this session, we point out the important news that is relevant for your CLAT and other language examinations, and we see the kind of news that is relevant for your preparation. So let's start with the news for 22nd December 2022. One second. The first news is regarding Supreme Court. Supreme Court stood up for a retired sweeper's right to pension. As you know that in these cases, whenever a pension is being delayed due to delay, they're just dragging the litigation for no reason. So in these cases, Supreme Court is very serious, and one such incident happened where they provided exemplary cost for dragging the case. So the Supreme Court stood up for the little man against the power of the state by putting an end to frivolous rounds of litigation waged by the School Education Department of Tamil Nadu government. A sweeper cum sanitary worker who wanted his pension after putting in 20 years of work for a starting wage of 150 rupees per month. This bench was led by Justice Dinesh Maheshwari and backed the cause of K. Lakshmanan. K. Lakshmanan was the name of the sweeper. K. Lakshmanan rights to pension and directed the department to cover exemplary cost of 1 lakh for dragging on the litigation for years, even at one point filing a rare review petition in the Madras High Court, which ordered the state to pay him the pension. The costs have to be deposited in the welfare fund of the Supreme Court Employees Welfare Association. So the Supreme Court has this power to give exemplary cost. That might not be the cost that was suffered by the person who approached the Supreme Court, but the court has this power to give exemplary cost, to make this as an example so that this does not happen in the future. So that was the situation in this case. They made an example out of it. No plan to revise age of consent. As you know, that the age of consent is 18 years for any, especially whenever there is a sexual relationship between two. But is there any chance of lowering the age of consent from 18 to 16 years? That was the question. So the center has informed Rajya Sabha that there is no plan to revise the age of consent. The union government does not have a plan to revise the age of consent under the Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act. So this act, this is a 2012 act. Despite there has been appeal from the judiciary to lower it from the current 18 to 16 years, but the center is saying that there is no such plan. In response to a question from CPI member Binoy Vishwam in the Rajya Sabha on whether the center was considering any proposal to lower the age of consent in order to prevent the criminalization of consensual relationships between adolescents, Union Minister for Women and Child Development Smriti Irani replied, "It does not arise. The Act clearly defines a child of any person below the age of 18 years. The POCSO Act provides punishment as per the gravity of offence. The Act was further amended in 2019 to introduce more stringent punishment, including death penalty for committing sexual crimes on children, with a view to deter the perpetrators and prevent such crimes against the children." Ms. Irani also said that the Majority Act 1875 provided 18 years as the age for attainment of majority. She said that that where an offence listed under the POCSO Act was committed by a child, Section 34 provided procedures for determining the age of the juvenile. So this is there is no such plan of lowering the age from 18 to 16 years. However, judiciary has been asking that judiciary has been appealing to lower the age because there are so many criminalization of the sexual interactions that happens in this case. Criminalization of consensual relationships between adolescents is very common in such matters, but there is no such reason, there is no such plan to reduce the age, to lower the age. Jammu and Kashmir, Ladakh to showcase cultural heritage on sidelines of G20 meetings to be held in 2023. As you know that there will be G20 meeting that will be held, and Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh has come forward to showcase their cultural heritage. The Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh have started preparations for G20 meetings, as India is set to host 43 heads of delegations in September 2023. One G20 meeting is being held in Srinagar. We have requested that one meeting is also held in Jammu. This was said by Jammu and Kashmir Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha in a press conference. Mr. Sinha chaired a high-level meeting on Tuesday to take stock of the preparations made for the upcoming G20 summit meetings. And the meetings under India's presidency is also an opportunity to share Jammu and Kashmir's achievements and to showcase its rich cultural heritage. And they want people's participation in that. The Ladakh administration also held a meeting on Tuesday to review preparedness for G20 meeting that is planned in Ladakh in April 2023. The G20 meeting is a great opportunity for Ladakh to showcase its cultural heritage, which in turn shall be beneficial for future branding of Ladakh. As the officials said, India is expected to host over 200 meetings in over 50 cities ahead of the summit in Delhi. So, Jammu and Kashmir, Ladakh, all these UTs are coming forward for this. Omicron variant is linked to China spike sequence in India in July. So the variant of Omicron that is currently seen as there has been a spike in China cases in China. So that was seen in India in July itself. So the BF7, the BF.7 variant of coronavirus, believed to be linked to the surge in COVID-19 cases in China, was identified in India as far as July 2022. 4 instances of the Omicron subvariant was genome sequenced in Gujarat and Odisha in the subsequent month, but it was not linked to increased severity or infectiousness in these 2 states, that is Gujarat and Odisha. 2 officials who were part of a meeting convened by the Union Health Minister Mansukh Mandaviya on Wednesday have confirmed this. With the rise in cases in China triggering a global alarm, Mr. Mandaviya had convened a meeting of senior officials in the government and the National COVID-19 Task Force to assess the situation in India. The officials said, while the spike in China did not yet simply imply a grave threat for India, it was advisable that people follow COVID-appropriate behavior, get vaccinated, and that states should increase the genomic surveillance. So a raging controversy has broken out between the Bharatiya Janata Party, Union Government and the Congress over Health Minister Mansukh Mandaviya's letter to Congress leader Rahul Gandhi, saying that he must either follow the strict COVID-19 guidelines or suspend his Bharat Jodo Yatra in the interest of the country. So, there has been pressure even on the Congress party regarding that, the Bharat Jodo Yatra that is going on. So that is also a controversy that is here regarding COVID. Elon Musk has said that he will exit as the Twitter CEO after finding replacement. As you know, that Elon Musk conducted a poll on Twitter. He said that if you will say that I should resign as the CEO of Twitter, I will do so if the poll says so. And the poll was saying exactly the same thing. The majority of the people who polled, they wanted Elon Musk to step aside from the post of CEO of Twitter. So after the poll results, Elon Musk has said that he will step down as chief executive of Twitter after finding a replacement. So he tweeted that I will resign as CEO as soon as I find someone foolish enough to take the job. After that, I will just run the software and servers team. And this was the first time Mr. Musk has mentioned stepping down as chief of the social media platform Twitter, after Twitter users voted decisively in a poll for him to step down, which Elon Musk launched on Sunday evening. So on Sunday evening, he posted the poll. Now the poll results were in favor of removing him as the CEO, and now he's complying, provided that he finds a replacement. That's the thing. Wall Street calls for Mr. Musk to step down had been growing for weeks, and recently even Tesla bulls have questioned his focus on the social media platform and whether that is distracting him from properly steering the electric vehicle business. So people are of the view that Elon Musk is focusing too much on Twitter, and that is somewhere harming these other ventures, that is Tesla, the electronic vehicle business, that is not focusing on that. Morbi tragedy, High Court issues notice to maintenance firm. Now this is a tragedy, as you know, that in October 135 people died because of a Morbi suspension bridge which was not maintained properly. So in that tragedy, the High Court has issued notice to the maintenance firm. The Gujarat High Court on Wednesday issued a notice to the company involved in the maintenance and operation of the Morbi suspension bridge, which collapsed in October, killing 135 people. On a plea seeking the company, we made a respondent in the suo motu proceedings initiated by the High Court. Suo motu means on its own. A division bench of Chief Justice Arvind Kumar and Justice Ashutosh Shastri issued notice to Ajanta Manufacturing Limited, which was the firm, on the plea which stated the acts of malfeasance on its part makes it liable for the payment of exemplary damages. See again exemplary damages. We also saw the exemplary damage in the first news. Here again it's coming. The High Court said it had initiated suo motu proceedings after taking the cognizance of the news items on the death of 135 persons in the October 30 bridge collapse tragedy. India said to plan stabilization fund to bolster carbon market. India is planning to planning a stabilization of fund to keep prices of credits in its planned carbon markets above a certain threshold. What that will ensure that they remain attractive for investors and that the market succeeds in cutting carbon emissions. So this has been said by the two government resources. Money in the fund would be used by a market regulator to buy carbon credits if prices fell too low, and the consistent investor interest in credits and a floor under the price would be needed as sharp falls in the market would discourage industries from reducing carbon dioxide emissions. Planning envisages the market becoming fully operational in 2026, covering 37% of the country's carbon emissions, according to slides seen by Reuters, that the Power Ministry has shown to stakeholders. Details would be announced next year, said Sabrat Sengupta, Vice President of the New Business and Market Strategies as Carbon Offsetters EKI Energy Limited, which has been briefed by the government. In creating a carbon market, a country sets limit on emissions and then allocates a corresponding quantity of tradable permits or credits to the emitters. The quantity reduces over time. So, how do you create a carbon market? A country sets a limit that this is the carbon that you can emit, and then it allocates a corresponding quantity that this suppose you did not emit this much, this much you can trade. So that is called carbon credit, and the quantity reduces over time. So if you could emit certain amount in this year, it comes down in the next year. So that's how the carbon credit works. US to send precision bombs and Patriot missiles to Ukraine. As you know that Russia-Ukraine crisis is still on, and US is backing Ukraine. The Joe Biden administration announced Wednesday that it will provide $1.85 billion in military aid to Ukraine, rolling out funding for a Patriot missile battery, as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is arriving in Washington for his first known trip out of his country since Russia invaded in February. Please understand, the name given here is Volodymyr Zelensky. This question was asked in CLAT 2022. They gave you 4 options and you had to choose the one that is the correct name of the Ukrainian president. So some Volodymyr Zelensky, Vladimir Zelensky, so all the 4 options were there, very close options, and you had to choose the right answer. So whenever you are reading the newspaper, read the names very carefully of the significant persons that are relevant for this news. The White House announcement came just hours before Mr. Zelensky had expected to arrive. The package includes $1 billion in weapons and equipment from Pentagon stocks, including the Patriot battery for the first time, and $850 million, including in funding through the Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative. Meanwhile, in Kremlin, the Kremlin warned that increasing the supply of US arms to Ukraine would aggravate the devastating 10-month war ignited by Russia's invasion and does not bode well for the neighboring country where the President Vladimir Putin vowed Russia would achieve its goal. NGOs flouting FCRA rules will not be tolerated. This has been said by Amit Shah. So the Union government on Wednesday said that certain NGOs were trying to change the demography of the country by getting the foreign funds. So that will not be tolerated. Modi government was committed to rooting out the drug menace from the country. So several NGOs were working in the eradication of drug menace. However, the foreign funding, changing the demography will not be allowed. Replying to a short discussion in the Lok Sabha on the drug abuse crisis in the country, Amit Shah said some NGOs and civil society organizations were working with the government to create awareness of the drug menace. But NGOs who did not follow FCRA rules will not be tolerated. We will not allow any foreign funds to destroy the country. So these are some important news regarding 22nd December. Thank you so much. See you in the next session with more set of news.